Looking for trusted vehicle protection? American Guardian Warranty Services has you covered. Since 1998, we've delivered top-tier coverage, award-winning support, and industry-leading training to keep your business moving forward. Every way forward.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Monday, July 7th, 2025. I'm Jake Neer in Detroit, in for Jamie Butters.
And I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, the industry reacts to President Trump's budget bill. Tesla faces backlash after Elon Musk says he's starting a new political party. And tariffs force Nissan to suspend production of 3 models for the Canadian market. Plus, China expert Michael Dunne joins the show to talk about the country's surging EV makers and whether legacy automakers can regain footing in the market.
Are we competitive? Is it possible to take the culture of a manufacturing company and transform it into a leader in software? That's an open question. I haven't seen it yet.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry.
With President Donald Trump's $3.4 trillion budget bill now law, Biden-era electric vehicle tax credits will come to an end this fall. The Senate accelerated the end of the $7,500 new EV tax credit and the $4,000 used EV credit to September 30th this year. Dealers and automakers requested a longer runway. NADA tells us at Automotive News that dealers still had about 140,000 EVs on their lots as of late June. Lucid Motors interim CEO Mark Winterhoff says the end of the tax credit would, quote, make it very difficult for new players in the market.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk has been one of the most vocal critics of the new law. Over the weekend, the former Trump ally posted on his social media site X that, quote, today, the America Party is formed to give you back your freedom. When it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Trump later called Musk's new political effort ridiculous. Caught in the middle of the feud is an already struggling Tesla, which reported a 13% slide in global deliveries in the second quarter from a year earlier. Tesla also posted lower sales in the first quarter and for full year 2024. Tesla investors are expressing concern over Musk's fresh foray into politics and how it will affect Tesla's business plans.
Nissan has suspended production of 3 models for the Canadian market at 2 U.S. assembly plants. That's as it awaits the outcome of Canada-U.S. trade talks. Nissan America's chairman, Christian Mounier, tells our sibling publication, Automotive News Canada, that the company expects the move to be relatively short-lived.
It doesn't mean we stopped forever. It's more of a suspension for a period of time.
A Nissan Canada spokesperson said Canadian production of the Nissan Pathfinder and Murano crossovers built in Tennessee and Frontier pickups assembled in Mississippi ceased in May. That's after the company had built up inventories of the 3 models at its dealership network in Canada.
And Foxconn is reportedly in talks with Nissan to build EVs, in a move that could help the troubled Japanese car maker avoid a factory closure. That's according to Nikkei, which cited a Nissan source that it didn't identify. Under the discussions, Foxconn would use Nissan's Opama assembly plant in Japan. It's a key factory that is seen as a primary target for shutdown. Nikkei says the partnership would be part of a wider cooperation in EVs and possibly incorporate a joint venture. In a statement, Nissan said the report was, quote, not based on an official announcement from Nissan. Foxconn did not immediately reply to requests seeking comment. And those are today's headlines. Coming up, China expert Michael Dunne talks about whether legacy automakers have a chance of competing again in the market. That's next on Daily Drive.
Daily Drive listeners like you have access to the lowest price for Automotive News Congress 2025 on September 11th.
The event is where the industry's biggest players tackle its toughest challenges. Congress attendees don't just follow the industry, they lead it.
This year's featured speakers include Hyundai Motor Group Executive Chair Yusin Chung and General Motors CEO Mary Barra.
We are investing in America. We're creating jobs. That's creating IP in this country. And I think, the United States needs to lead in key technologies.
Join us to gain the insights and connections needed to steer your business through massive change.
To get the lowest price for the event, go to autonews.com/events, select Auto News Congress, and type in the discount code Daily Drive, one word, all caps. We'll see you in September in Detroit.
When it comes to vehicle protection, American Guardian Warranty Services has you covered. Since 1998, AGWS has been a trusted leader in F&I solutions, offering top-tier protection plans for autos, RVs, power sports, marine, and more, all backed by A-rated insurance carriers for reliable coverage you can count on. But we don't just offer protection, we deliver results. With award-winning marketing materials, expert dealer training through AGWS University, and exceptional customer service, we are committed to helping your business grow while keeping your customers protected. Join thousands of satisfied dealers and agents who trust AGWS for comprehensive coverage and unmatched support. Visit agws.com or call 800-579-2233 today to keep your business moving forward. Every way forward.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Jake Neer with Kellen Walker. Late last month, Ford CEO Jim Farley gave effusive praise of Chinese automakers during the recent Aspen Ideas Festival. He says he's been to China several times in the past year to study the auto industry there. It might sound odd for a Detroit automaker CEO to give so much credit to Chinese competitors, but Dunne Insight's CEO Michael Dunne says it's important for legacy car makers to learn from the country. Dunne spoke with our own Pete Bigelow on Shift, a podcast about mobility. Here's a piece of their conversation.
Michael, welcome back to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Pete, it is always a very enjoyable conversation with you, and I expect today to be no different.
Well, let's dive right in then. I'm going to kick this off by going back in time to May 13th, 2019. That is the date of your first appearance on the Shift podcast, Michael. And I went back to listen earlier today. And if I may say so, you are Nostradamus.
Okay.
I quote,
what exactly transpired? Tell me.
This is your quote from May 13th, 2019. This is a time of tremendous vulnerability for Detroit's auto industry in China. China has lost patience with waiting for technology transfer from foreign companies. They will not follow anymore, but lead.
Whoa.
Everybody knows today that that is true. What was so clear to you, which makes that so prophetic? What were you seeing back in 2019 that makes that ring so true today, Michael?
Talking to the entrepreneurs there on the ground and the government leaders, they said, look, we've had joint ventures with the Germans, the Americans, the Koreans, and Japanese now for 25 years. What do we have to show for it? Basically nothing. As you looked around the streets of Beijing or Shanghai or Guangzhou, mostly foreign brands, where were the Chinese cars? So they were in this game of forever catch up when it came to internal combustion engines. And Xi Jinping had made it clear that they were fed up with that formula and that they wanted to change the game and move into electrics. Now, in 2019, that is pretty good prediction, actually, if I say so myself, because even up until 2019, things were looking pretty okay for global automakers. They still had 2/3 of the market and were making money. And fast forward to today, it's just a bloodbath. They've gone from 2/3 of the market to 1/3 of the market. That equates to about 8 million cars per year in lost sales. 8 million cars. It's like half the U.S. market gone in just a few years. And the Detroit automakers have really taken it on the chin. Jeep having exited in 2022, Ford basically trimming its business way back. And there's rumors now that GM, the poster child of what a U.S.-China joint venture should look like, there's rumors that joint venture may not be renewed. It's looking like wow for Detroit
Bloodbath
automakers in
sounds
China.
like the right word.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, foreign automakers in China have fallen from 63% market share in 2020 in China to 33% today. Alex Partner says it's going to get worse. By 2030, it's going to be about only 25%. So, do you agree with that projection that things are going to get worse for the likes of Detroit and every other foreign automaker in China? And God forbid, is there anything they can do to recapture market share or at least arrest the descent?
Alex Partners said 25%. I feel like that's optimistic, Pete. There's no basement here. Why? Why would it stop at 25%? The Chinese consumer has already changed its mind. Half of new car sales are electrics now in that market. And who builds electrics? It's virtually all the Chinese are leading that game, led by BYD. So I think 25% is optimistic. I'm feeling like Detroit may very well need to exit the market by then. Several Japanese automakers, who would be able to stick around the longest? Toyota,
Tesla?
Tesla, Toyota, because Toyota still commands the respect of the Chinese consumer in terms of overall value for money, parts and service. They're deeply entrenched there in China. And then you'd go to, the German premiums, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and Porsche. Although in recent months, even those guys are feeling the pressure. Pete, for years when I lived in China, the German premium brands were like gods, the revered, like beyond gods. They're the forever. We adore German brands. We'll never not love them. And yet, in the last 12 to 18 months, they're sliding and losing share to the Chinese brands. So all bets are off. It feels like when you're in China that China's deciding we're going to make this whole market our market. And the global automakers who have been our visitors for so long are welcome to see their way out. That's what it feels like on the ground.
Or in a way, it feels like the script has flipped from the Chinese saying we're going to learn from others to you have the likes of Jim Farley at Ford saying he's visiting China 6 or 7 times a year
Mm-hmm.
to learn from the Chinese. If I remember his quote from the Aspen Ideas Festival correctly here, just in the last week, he said, "It's the most humbling thing I've ever seen."
The most humbling thing he's ever seen. I mean, that doesn't get any bigger than that. It must be a shock for him. And then how does he take that message back to Dearborn and communicate it to the troops?
It's an interesting question because I feel like he's stylistically been very effusive in his praise of the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Last week in Aspen, and then I think it was last fall where he talked about driving his Xiaomi SU7 around Detroit from Detroit to Chicago and telling his troops that he's not giving it up.
Mm.
And before we get into the substance of that, I guess I just stylistically, do you think that is an attempt to motivate the troops, an attempt to browbeat them? Like, how would you read the message he's trying to send?
Right. I'm sure he's got a plan in his mind, but from the outside, I would prefer to hear him say, we have things to learn from the Chinese. For the first time, we do have things to learn from the Chinese, but we have our own master plan and we will prevail. I'm confident in our guys. I'm confident in our products. We're going to win this race. We're behind right now. We're the underdogs, but we will prevail. That's what I'd like to hear from him more.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about going to China, getting in cars, having his phone follow him from car to car seamlessly. No need to, connect via Bluetooth, having AI assistance. What's it like? Give us a feel of, what is it like to ride or drive in a Chinese automobile today on the streets of China?
Yeah. Keep in mind that, wasn't that long ago that no one, including the Chinese consumer, wanted to ride or drive in a Chinese car. That was real. It's 5 years ago. Reluctantly, I'll buy a Chinese brand if I can't afford a foreign one. So this is all very new. And the other thing that's new is when we hear about Chinese cars, when I travel around the United States and Europe, people say, oh, low cost, right? Like a glorified golf cart. No, forget that. Not only are they really advanced when it comes to batteries and battery supply chains, but even more importantly, these tech billionaires, guys like the head of NIO and Xiaomi and others, have brought world-class technology into the car. So what's most impressive about riding a Chinese car is the software, is the interface with infotainment and navigation is phenomenal. It's quick, it's clear. And that's the sort of secret superpower that's going to surprise consumers in the West is not only are they affordable and really good battery powertrains, but this whole element of the software side and AI is a big moment.
So Walter Isaacson, who was interviewing Jim Farley in Aspen, asked him about this and said, well, if those are so good, why don't Ford vehicles have your AI assistance and your seamless software experience inside the cabin? And his response, I thought, was very curious. He said, well, Google and Apple have decided that they're not going to go into the car business. And I feel like that was perhaps an elusive answer or some truth, but not the whole truth and nothing but the truth, because I think Ford and others don't want to cede their dashboards to the likes of Apple CarPlay and Apple CarPlay Ultra in particular. Is that your read on part of what's stymieing American automakers from following suit there?
Yes, it seems like they're stuck in the middle, right? They're neither here, they're in no man's land. We're the 100-some-year-old manufacturer of quality vehicles trying to learn software as quickly as we can. By the way, we've got Apple and Google trying to invade our space. In contrast, you have the Xiaomis and the Li Autos and the NIOs, Xpengs starting with a clean sheet and saying, we're actually tech companies. There's no conflict here. So I think it's a legitimate question. Why doesn't Ford have those same offerings as a Xiaomi does? And yeah, you're getting to the heart of the matter. Are we competitive? Is it possible to take the culture of a manufacturing company and transform it into a leader in software? That's an open question. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit.
Yeah.
Is it possible to transform a legacy automaker as you just described, or is it smarter to start with a clean sheet, not just from an engineering perspective, but a cultural perspective, like a Rivian, Lucid, Slate, Tesla? Is that the future American auto industry?
That really is putting me on the spot, Pete, because as you know, I grew up in Detroit. I'm a Detroiter at heart. I was speaking to my nephew recently as we got in behind the wheel of a Cadillac. It was a Cadillac, and I said, "Do you see how it's impressive, but kind of?" He goes, "Oh, this is way too busy for me. It's overwhelming, all these knobs and buttons, and I don't get it." And I said, "Well, here's what's going on. They're trying to get up to speed in software." And his answer, I thought, was delightful. He said, "No, why would you do that? They manufacture trucks. That's their business. This other thing about software is not their business. Let someone else do that, or let the next competitor come along and do that." So from an objective, realistic point of view, I think it's extremely hard. We've seen how hard it is for the Detroit 3 to make that transformation. And at a certain point, you say, wouldn't it be easier for a Rivian or a Slate to come along and just do it from scratch? And that's what's happened in China. There's proof of concept right there in China. We need more Teslas and Rivians here in the United States, I believe.
Michael Dunne is an expert on the Chinese auto market and CEO of Dunne Insights. You can hear his full conversation with our own Pete Bigelow on the latest episode of Shift, a podcast about mobility. That's available now wherever you get your podcasts. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Jake Neer, in for Jamie Butters.
And I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News journalists Lawrence Iliff and Hans Greimel for their reporting for today's podcast. We also had reporting from David Kennedy and Tim Demopoulos of our sibling publication, Automotive News Canada. You can get the latest news on competition from China, EV incentives, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com.
Come back tomorrow for a closer look at the implications of the new budget bill on the auto industry with our own Molly Boygan. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.